up in a way that, like, okay, you're saying something that's actually factually inaccurate,
right,
according to the narrative. Now, let's be real clear. I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird shit going on with this.
I know.
First of all, there was that one guy who...
I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go...
For they not know what they do. That man... That young man... I forgive him.
The studio had gone still, lights low, the hum of equipment the only sound until Joe Rogan leaned forward toward the mic. His voice dropped, quiet but sharp enough to cut through every distraction. "Something's not right here," he said, and the air itself seemed to freeze. Anyone who listens to Joe Rogan knows that tone, the one that comes before the world starts asking questions it was never supposed to ask. And this time, he wasn't talking about a joke or a celebrity feud. He was talking about Charlie Kirk, the political firebrand whose name once dominated headlines, and the chilling circumstances surrounding his sudden death. The spark began small. Like all internet storms do, a few screenshots. A leaked group chat, whispers of tension between Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and his wife Erica Kirk. At first, fans dismissed it as rumor. But then Joe confirmed the unthinkable: the screenshots were real. They weren't gossip, they were fragments of an actual conversation that Candace Owens herself had once shared with a few trusted people. And someone had cut them out of context and released them. Within hours, the digital wildfire spread. Threads popped up everywhere, demanding explanations. According to Joe Rogan, those messages showed more than friendly concern. They hinted at fear, and at warnings that went ignored. Behind the scenes, Candace Owens had tried to warn Charlie Kirk that Erica might be under pressure, maybe even being influenced by people tied to major donors and internal politics within his organization. But instead of listening, Charlie pulled away. He stopped replying. Their once-tight alliance fractured. And weeks later, tragedy struck when Erica Kirk stood before cameras afterward, dressed in black but composed like a marble statue. The world leaned in. People expected tears, anger, collapse. Instead, they got forgiveness. "That young man, I forgive him," she said softly, her voice steady, almost rehearsed. Joe Rogan replayed the clip on his show. "That's not grief," he said carefully. "That's someone who's already accepted the ending, maybe before it happened." And that line broke the internet in half. Audiences went back to watch every frame of Erica's interviews. They slowed them down, compared angles, analyzed her body language like detectives. Something about her calmness didn't sit right. Meanwhile, Candace Owens refused to back down. She went live, eyes swollen from sleepless nights but voice cutting like glass. "They're rewriting the story while we're still mourning," she said. "We have to ask the questions they don't want asked." Her target wasn't Erica Kirk personally, it was the system. The investigation, the rushed reports, the sudden declaration that Tyler Robinson was the sole perpetrator. Candace asked why the FBI only released grainy clips, why crucial footage was missing, why witnesses disappeared from official documents. If they had nothing to hide, she demanded, why give us fragments instead of the full picture? Then came her revelation about Tyler Robinson himself. She said he had a partial paralysis in his right leg, medical proof that he couldn't have been the fast-moving figure shown in the official rooftop video. The FBI's report claimed the limp came from hiding a weapon. Candace called that fiction. "That limp was pain, not guilt," she said, and they know it. Within days, independent analysts began tearing the footage apart frame by frame. They measured height, stride, and speed, and agreed it didn't match Tyler's physical profile. Some even detected jump cuts that suggested edits in the video. "You can't fix the truth with scissors," Joe Rogan said grimly. That quote went viral overnight, but the twist that turned speculation into obsession came next. Candace Owens mentioned a mystery woman seen in a now-deleted clip. According to her, this woman appeared for just a second, handing something to the suspect before vanishing into the crowd. The footage disappeared from the internet hours later. "When evidence vanishes this fast," Candace said, "that's not coincidence. That's control." The phrase mystery woman exploded online, with millions trying to find traces of the erased video. Through it all, Erica Kirk stayed silent. While Candace demanded transparency and Joe dissected every timeline on air, Erica spoke only of forgiveness and faith. To some, that made her look noble, the picture of spiritual strength. To others, it felt rehearsed, like someone protecting a carefully managed image. Every word she avoided became louder than the ones she said. Then came Candace's next bombshell, a set of private text messages allegedly from Charlie Kirk to one of his close associates, in which he expressed doubts about continuing certain political and financial relationships. The text suggested he was ready to pull back from major partnerships, maybe even walk away from the movement he built. The timing was haunting, written just weeks before his death. Many dismissed them at first as doctored. But when several insiders confirmed the tone and timestamps matched Charlie's known messages, the internet lost its mind. If he was preparing to leave, Joe Rogan said on his show, that means motive. And that means this isn't just tragedy, it's politics. That statement changed everything. It was no longer just a debate between grief and suspicion. It was a battle between truth and control. Now, the three names dominated every corner of social media: Candace Owens, fighting like a woman possessed; Erica Kirk, serene yet shadowed by questions; and Joe Rogan, the voice connecting dots no one else dared to. Forums called it the triangle of silence. One side demanding answers, one side giving none, and one side amplifying both until the whole world was forced to listen. By the end of that week, the story had gone global. Every outlet, every influencer, every political commentator had an opinion. Some called Candace Owens brave for standing against the system. Others accused her of weaponizing grief. But no one could deny the truth. The official story was full of holes. And Joe Rogan's investigation had turned a closed case into a public inquisition. As one listener wrote in a viral comment, "If this is what happens when someone asks the wrong question, imagine what happens when they find the right answer." And that's where part 1 ends, with Joe Rogan's words echoing across a world suddenly unsure of what's real anymore. Because now, it's not just a question of who pulled the trigger. It's a question of who's rewriting history while we watch. After that week, everything changed. What had started as a leak turned into an all-out media war. Candace Owens stopped playing defense and went straight for the heart of the narrative. Every new interview she did felt like a warning shot to the establishment. "If you think this was random," she said, "then you're not paying attention." And just like that, the conversation around Charlie Kirk's death shifted from tragedy to conspiracy. Joe Rogan dedicated another full episode to the case, replaying pieces of audio that many outlets refused to air. He spoke slower this time, more deliberate, as if choosing every word with surgical care. "I'm not saying I know what happened," he said, "but the way they rushed this, the way they tied it up in a neat bow, that's not real life." His guest nodded quietly, but the silence afterward said more than any theory could. Millions watched that clip within hours. People who'd never cared about politics were suddenly invested in the mystery surrounding Erica Kirk, Candace Owens, and the strange inconsistencies that refused to fade away. Online investigators began stitching timelines together. A pattern started to form, not proof, but pieces that felt too connected to ignore. The deleted video. The missing witnesses. The texts that showed Charlie's unease before his death. The public started to ask a single question that nobody had dared before: what if the truth was edited, the same way the footage was? Through all of this, Erica Kirk tried to maintain her poise. She released one brief statement thanking people for their sympathy but asked for privacy as the organization moves forward. The phrasing, "moves forward," set off another firestorm. Commentators pointed out that she'd used business language to describe her husband's death. Others noticed how quickly she'd resumed her leadership role at Turning Point. Within weeks, she was attending events, shaking hands, smiling for cameras. To some, she looked like a woman trying to hold it together. To others, she looked like someone trying to keep a story alive. Candace Owens, however, wasn't done. In one of her most emotional live streams yet, she claimed to have received new evidence, a recording that supposedly captured 2 distinct voices at the scene of the incident. "If there were 2 people," she said, "then everything they told us is a lie." The clip was grainy, muffled, and impossible to verify, but that didn't matter. The idea alone was enough to send social media spiraling. Hashtags exploded overnight. 2 voices became a symbol of doubt, and within days, analysts around the world were dissecting every frame of footage they could find. Joe Rogan kept the focus steady. He wasn't just covering it as a commentator anymore, he was investigating. He spoke about how information gets buried, how agencies manipulate public attention, how truth becomes performance. "We're being trained to forget fast," he said on air. "They keep us moving from one scandal to the next so we never stop long enough to see the pattern." His audience, loyal and massive, listened like disciples. Then, another bombshell dropped. A whistleblower reached out to an independent journalist with claims that portions of the FBI's internal report had been quietly revised weeks after publication. According to the source, the edits removed key references to an unidentified female witness. When Candace Owens heard about it, she went live immediately. They're erasing her, she said. That mystery woman wasn't imaginary, she was inconvenient. Her words burned through the internet like gasoline on fire. Within hours, clips from old security feeds began resurfacing, shaky cell phone videos, alternate angles, unverified snippets. One of them appeared to show a pale flash of fabric moving near the suspect just seconds before the scene went dark. It wasn't proof, but it wasn't nothing either. Candace Owens paused during her live broadcast, fighting back tears as she played the clip again. "This is what they didn't want us to see," she whispered. "And now they'll pretend it never existed." Meanwhile, Kirk finally broke her silence in an exclusive interview that aired on morning television. Sitting upright, hands folded, she smiled faintly as she dismissed the rumors. "Grief makes people see patterns that aren't there," she said. "I've forgiven everyone involved, even those spreading lies." Her calmness should have put the story to rest, but it had the opposite effect. Viewers noticed how rehearsed it sounded, how every answer felt pre-scripted. And when the interviewer asked if she believed Candace Owens was lying, Erica hesitated just long enough for people to notice. That hesitation became the headline. Within hours, analysts replayed the clip from every angle. Some called it the moment Kirk accidentally revealed she was hiding something. Others said it proved she was simply exhausted. But in the digital age, perception is reality, and perception was rapidly turning against her. Joe Rogan returned to the story again that week, calling the situation a case study in narrative control. He talked about how the internet amplifies what the mainstream avoids, how truth often hides between competing lies. "We're not supposed to figure it out," he said. "We're supposed to pick a side and stay distracted." It was one of his most viewed episodes ever. Then Candace Owens made her boldest claim yet. She said she had obtained internal communication logs that proved the investigation was wrapped up before all evidence had even been analyzed. "That means," she said, "someone wanted it over. Fast." She accused the authorities of choosing a convenient villain, Tyler Robinson, while burying anything that pointed elsewhere. Screenshots of her alleged findings spread across every platform, but what stood out most was her defiance. "They can call me crazy," she said, "but I'll be crazy in the name of the truth." By this point, the lines were fully drawn. Kirk was the image of composure, trying to steer the organization through chaos. Candace Owens had become the symbol of resistance, relentless in her pursuit. And Joe Rogan was the bridge between them, not choosing sides, but amplifying both until the world couldn't look away. Every new statement turned into a headline. Every pause in their words became another clue. Then, late one night, Joe Rogan hinted at something no one saw coming. On his podcast, he mentioned that a mutual contact had sent him an encrypted file allegedly recovered from a deleted drive tied to Charlie Kirk's inner circle. "If what's in there is real," he said, "it's going to change everything." He didn't play the file. He didn't describe it. He just sat back, eyes dark, letting the implication hang in the air. The internet erupted instantly. Threads speculated about what it could contain: private emails, internal memos, maybe even recordings. The guesses didn't matter. What mattered was the silence that followed. Joe Rogan, for once, said nothing more. Over the next few days, fans noticed something strange. The original episode where Joe mentioned the file quietly disappeared from his channel. No explanation. No statement. Only clips re-uploaded by fans who had saved the footage before it was gone. "They made him take it down," one viewer wrote. "That means it was real." Candace Owens posted a single response the next morning, a black screen with 3 words, "They're watching us." It got millions of views in hours. As tension reached its peak, one last shock rattled everything. A new internal memo leaked, allegedly written by a senior investigator. In it, a note scribbled in the margins read, "Find the woman in the light jacket. She knows more than anyone." The memo spread like wildfire before it vanished just as quickly, taken down, flagged, erased. But by then, it was too late. The public had seen it. The story had grown far beyond control. In his next show, Joe Rogan summed up what everyone was thinking: there's a difference between closure and silence. And right now, they're giving us silence. His eyes lingered on the camera for a long moment before the screen cut to black, and that's where the world was left, in a limbo of questions, contradictions, and whispered truths. Candace Owens still demanding justice. Kirk still speaking softly about forgiveness. And Joe Rogan, standing somewhere in the middle, holding the world's attention hostage with a single unanswered question. If the truth was ever found, would anyone even be allowed to say it?